All right, y'all, it's happening. It is fair to say it truly is all catching up with Trump. It truly is all catching up with Trump. So we got some new polls here on how he's doing, and wow, we're talking record collapse type stuff. So let's start with this one here.
Focus in on independents here, and independents feel that Donald Trump has vacated the center of the electorate, catering to his base. What are we talking about? Well, let's talk about the overall net approval ratings. We're going to look at the worst ever at this point in a presidency. The old record among independents for the worst ever was Donald Trump back in 2016, a net approval rating of minus 16 points. Well, Donald Trump has broken his own record here. He now holds, in this particular term, the worst ever net approval rating at this point in a presidency among independents at, get this, minus 22 points.
6 points worse than in 2017. Independents are fleeing from him at 1,000 miles an hour.
22 points underwater with independents. That breaks the old record that belonged to Trump. He has set the new record. He is completely underwater with the center of the electorate, Kate Ball.
And this is overall. This is on all the issues. Now, focus in specifically on the economy.
Yeah, let's focus in on the economy, right? What is driving this overall approval rating for Donald Trump among independents to go underwater? Let's take a look at the economy. And let's take a look at Trump's net approval rating on it and look at the trend line over.
Holy shit. He was +1 on the economy in January. Now he's minus 29. And this is before you even have the actual price shocks from the tariff bullshit. Wow. He's gonna break records, dog. This is gonna be like nothing we've ever seen. He might surpass Bush at Bush's low point.
Just the last few months. You go back to January, he was slightly above water with independents at +1 point. Look at this drop, Kate. Oh my, minus 29 points. That's a 30-point drop in under 3 months of time. What independents are hearing from Donald Trump, they hate what they're hearing from Donald Trump, and they are abandoning him in record numbers. At this point in his last presidency, he was about at 0 points in terms of his net approval rating on the economy, and now he's at minus 29 points. You go back through the record books, I simply put, Kate Baldwin, can't find anything close to this.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Here's the problem for Trump. His normal tricks that work on his cult, like, they can't work on independents. You understand what I'm saying? Because his cult will just gobble up whatever fucking trash he throws at them. So, like, when he does the tariff thing and he's like, this is going to be great for American workers. We love tariffs. They're incredible. We love tariffs. He does that, and then he pulls the tariffs back, and then everybody goes, art of the deal. This is art of the deal. The tariffs are actually bad, but it's okay. It was a negotiating tactic, and I negotiated something incredible. Then he puts him back on, and it's like, this is great for manufacturing. He goes back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. And the people in his cult are fucking genuinely low IQ idiots, and they don't know anything about anything, and they follow politics for vibes and feelings and emotions, right? So he can get away with that with those people, but with anybody who's paying even the tiniest amount of attention and has any logic in their head, they see that and they go, that makes no sense. So the tariffs are good when you put them on, but then as soon as you take them off, it's also good that you took them off? Wait, are they good or are they bad? Are tariffs good or are tariffs bad? Is it we're going to revitalize American manufacturing, or are the deal and it was just a negotiation tactic? You can't say this is great for workers and then we got rid of it, but somehow it's still great for workers? So independents look at that and they go, you are full of shit. Nothing you are saying makes sense. And very clearly, I think what independents realize is there is no actual like grand plan. He's lost in terms of the retaliation that's happening from other nations. They literally didn't see that what they were doing would have second order consequences. Other intelligent people think like 6 steps down the road, you couldn't even do the fucking second order consequences. And then on top of that, I think a lot of independents are onto the fact that there's a grab bag of corruption going on here too, right? Oh, you want an exemption to your tariffs? Well, let's have a meeting. Let's see what I can get out of it, right? I think that's part of it too. I think they see what he's doing. They see the impact it's having on the market. A lot of these people have 401ks. They just got fucking blown to smithereens. So they're looking at it going, hey, sort of fuck you. I can't retire now.
This is such a record that there is no historical analogy to be 29 points underwater on the most important issue of the day with independents. This right here, my dear friends, is political poison. If an election were held today and Donald Trump's net approval rating in the economy was minus 29 points with independents, I'm not quite sure how Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives.
They can't. They fucking can't. We're going to look at a fucking Reagan-style 48 out of 50 state victory if he keeps going on the track he's going on every fucking issue.
Is it all tariffs that are driving this?
Yeah, okay. So let's take a look here at tariffs. This is definitely part of it. A clear plan for tariffs and trade among independents. Look at this. 57% say no. He doesn't even have a clear plan for what he should be doing with tariffs and trade. And when asked whether or not they like the idea of additional tariffs, guess what percentage of independents say no, that they oppose it? It is 2/3. It is 66% of independents who oppose new tariffs. They don't like anything that's coming out of Donald Trump's right now, absent maybe immigration. But when it comes to the economy, when it comes to overall, when it comes to tariff, it's a threesome for negativity among independents. They oppose. They simply put, do not like the words that are coming out of Donald Trump's mouth and the plans that he is putting forward to the American public.
So showing that it's not just economic risk that he's taking with the just wait, it will get better on his tariff plan. It's a political risk as well, which is just wait, it'll get better. So.
You know what? They can wait, what is it, about 18 months until the midterm elections? Yep. But eventually the bill will come due, and we'll see at that time whether or not independents turn around on Donald Trump. It would have to take something historic for it to occur.
It would have to take something historic for it to occur before the next elections. That's assuming they don't rig that shit. And we already know about Trump's executive order trying to rig the election, trying to give Elon Musk oversight. Elon Musk. They passed the SAVE Act through the House trying to disenfranchise 70 million women. Right? They're bringing their Jim Crow tactics all across the country. So that's assuming we have free and fair elections. All right, I got more for you. Ready? Here we go. More numbers.
I would argue this is the worst set of polling data that Donald Trump has had in his entire second term as president, in part because the CBS News YouGov poll that came out yesterday has been one of his best. Let's first take a look at how folks are feeling about the state of the economy. Think that the economy is getting worse. What you don't have to be a mathematical genius to see the trend line on your screen, and it is getting worse. More folks are feeling the economy is going southward. Back in November, it was just 42% of Americans who said the economy is getting worse. You jump forward to February, 49%. You jump forward to March, 51%. Now look at this number, 53%. The clear majority of Americans think that the economy is getting worse. It's an 11-point jump from November to now. And of course, Donald Trump won the 2024 election because he promised to fix the economy, and yet views of the economy are going down. The percentage who say it's getting worse is going up, Sarah.
And guys, I don't even think people know the full scope of it, right? I don't even think people realize the pickle that Trump put us in here, where usually when the stock market goes down, the dollar gets stronger because people do the flight to safety and they go to the dollar. This time, that's not happening. The stock market is going down and the dollar is going down. Why? Because the rest of the world is looking at the U.S. and going, you motherfuckers are crazy. Why should you be the world reserve currency? Why should we invest in you? You're chaotic, you're unstable, you're not good to your word, you violate treaties, you start trade wars, you try to start actual wars with your fucking allies, like Greenland and Panama. Why would we do that? What are we, fucking sadists over here? What do we want? Pain? We want to live worse for this fucking bloated reality star's his ego? His narcissism? So people are waking up to that fact. And the world is waking up to that fact. So he's destroyed our relationship with the world. In turn, that's going to destroy the dollar. And he's oblivious to all this shit, right? Doesn't care about the fallout. Doesn't care that prices are going to absolutely skyrocket. So many people are going to get laid off. So this is just the beginning. This is just the fucking beginning.
Okay, so usually the former administration actually is responsible for the economy, especially in the first couple of years.
No, okay. That's a stupid general rule. Because the fact of the matter is, the previous administration is responsible for the economy until the new administration starts implementing new economic policies. That's the rule of thumb, right? Now, maybe one president goes in there and within the first month, he implements a bunch of economic policy changes. Okay, well then that new president owns the economy. Maybe there's a hypothetical different president and they don't do anything with economic policy until year 1.5. Well, then in that case, it's fair to say the first year and a half is still the outcome of the previous president's economy. There is no hard and fast rule. It's all about, did the new president do new economic shit or not? If they did, they own the economy. If they didn't, they don't until they do that, right?
So who are people blaming for this?
This, to me, is a very interesting trend line that we're seeing develop over the last few months. All right. So, of course, Joe Biden was the last president. Donald Trump is the current president. Donald Trump wants to say, don't blame me if you're upset with the state of the economy. Blame the other guy. I don't think Americans are buying what he's selling at this particular point, at least anymore. More responsible for the economic state. They asked about inflation back in March. Look at this. 38% said Joe Biden. 34% said Donald Trump. But look at where we are this month when they asked about the general state of the economy. Look at how much higher the Trump number is. 54% 54%. The Joe Biden percentage drops through the floor at 21%. So this idea that Donald Trump will try to sell to the American public, is trying to sell to the American public, is that it's the other guy. It's not me. It's that other guy, that old guy, Joe Biden. No longer is this being, the American public is no longer buying this set of arguments like they were back in March. And of course, what is so important here? We have had the tariff war in the last month. That's what's going on. I believe that a massive shift is occurring because Americans are seeing what's happening on their television screens. They are seeing what's happening in the stock market. They're seeing what's happening in the bond market. One day, Donald Trump says one thing about the tariff war. The next day, he says another thing. One day, one of his advisors says one thing. The next day, that same exact advisor says another thing. And all of a sudden, Americans are picking up on this. And this idea that Donald Trump is trying to sell, that you can blame Joe Biden. Look at this again. This percentage, 54 to 21. A clear majority now are blaming Donald Trump for the state of the economy, not Joe Biden.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a lot, right? There is a percentage of the country that will abandon Trump under no circumstances. We saw after January 6th, right in the heat of the moment and with all the passion and all the crimes that were committed, he dropped to like 30% approval rating. And I've seen polls on the issue of stealing Greenland for the United States. The low number I saw was 26% supported. The high number I saw was 33. So somewhere in that range, that percentage of the country is fucking gonzo mentally. Trump could drop a nuke on Australia and they'd be like, they had it coming. So that percentage is gone, right? The question is, how long until we bottom out? Because we know that number's never going to leave them. But how long does it take until we bottom out completely? And we're basically already there in terms of who's responsible for the economy, because everybody sees you're doing all the economic moves, so you own the economy. And so they've woken up on that particular issue, right? The question is how long until that's every issue and how long until he's only left with his diehard death cult.
How has all of this, the tariff war, the uncertainty, the back and forth, the flip-flopping, how is that affecting his overarching rating?
Yeah, okay, so I think this is so important, right? We've been talking about the economy, right? We talked about it last week. We spoke about it the week before. This has been the number one story of the Trump presidency. And I made you viewers a promise. I said if prices go up and voters' thoughts on the economy go down, that would bring Donald Trump's approval rating down with him. That was the promise I made. And let's take a look at whether or not that's actually occurring, because that's the whole kit and caboodle here. If the two aren't linked, who really cares, right? Except for our 401ks. Trump's net approval rating. Look at this. It's a huge slide in it. In early February, it was plus 6 points. Then you go to late February, plus 2 points. Then you go to March, it's even. And look at this massive jump from late March to now, minus 6 points. That's a 6-point drop in less than a month. And why is that occurring? It is because of the tariff war. The voters are punishing Donald Trump in one of his best polls, which now even that best poll is a negative poll for Donald Trump.
And like I said, we are just getting started. We haven't even been hit with the price shocks yet. You haven't even been hit with consumer goods that have gone up massively in price yet. And that's coming. So this is just, wait until it actually hits. Wait until people are being warned of the impacts of what's to come. But that's all theoretical until it actually happens. And then it's like, oh, shit. And then that number goes down way, way more. All right, I'm not done. I still got this for you. Ready? So one of the things we hear over and over is that, look, man, Trump, yeah, a lot of his stuff is unpopular, but there's one area where he consistently remains popular. And to be fair, that's true, according to a lot of polls. The area where he remains popular is immigration, where everything's underwater, but you look at immigration, he's like +4 on the issue of immigration. However, that is absolutely misleading, because what people refuse to do in a poll like that is get into specifics, get into details, right? Like, it's easy to generally say, yeah, I support what he's doing on immigration. But once you start giving exact examples of what he's doing and what he wants to do and what the impact is, then all of a sudden it's a totally different story. So look at this. There's a new poll that just came out. This really is something. Ready? Net support for selected immigration policies in polls conducted between January 9th and February 28th. Ready? Deport undocumented immigrants who have lived in the U.S. for more than 10 years. That is negative 37%. That's underwater 37 points. So in other words, Americans are saying in colossal numbers, if somebody's been here more than 10 years and they haven't committed a crime or anything, like, leave them alone. They're fine. That's the actual position of Americans. More. Deport undocumented immigrants who are parents of U.S. citizens by birth. That's underwater 36 points. In other words, the Americans are saying, look, even if they're an undocumented immigrant, if they didn't commit a crime and they have U.S. citizen kids, really? You going to deport them? What about the kids? What are you going to do with the kids? Right? You can't do that. 36 points underwater. More. Deport undocumented immigrants who have not broken laws in the U.S. except for immigration laws. Even that is underwater 18 points. In other words, all the fear-mongering, the illegal immigrant, they're illegal aliens, bro. They're illegal, deport. When you are clear with the American public, hey, what if they are undocumented immigrants? What if they are, to use their terminology, illegal immigrants? but they've committed no other crimes at all. Nothing violent, nothing nonviolent. Americans go, let them stay. Let them stay. Deport immigrants who are living in the U.S. illegally back even if they have lived here for a number of years, have jobs, and no criminal record. That's underwater 14 points. So, in other words, the American public is way more pro-immigration than you're led to believe. Deporting U.S. citizens convicted of crimes to foreign prisons. That's underwater 14 points. So, in other words, like Trump always says, we got horrible people who hit grandmas over the head with a bat and shove people in front of trains, and the worst of the worst. We're going to get rid of the homegrown worst of the worst. You ask the American people, hey, do you agree with that? They go, no, you can't ship out an American citizen. The fuck are you talking about? Deport all immigrants in the U.S. illegally who have been not convicted of a crime. That's -7. Cutting federal funds for sanctuary cities and states. That's -5. This is all not popular. Holding immigrants in large detention centers while determining whether or not they should be deported. That's -4. Using Guantanamo Bay to detain thousands of migrants deported from the U.S. That's -4. Using the U.S. military to arrest and deport immigrants without legal status. That's -3. The only immigration things that are popular, ready? An executive order declaring an emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, promising to deploy troops, construct additional border barriers, and implement mass deportations. 11. So, in other words, here, let me break this down for you because this is actually really important. What the American people are saying here is, we support mass deportations insofar as the mass deportations are going after hardened criminal gangbangers who are violent, who are in this country. And this is where Trump's propaganda comes in, right? Because he insisted for years and years, we got criminals, we got horrible, we got gangsters, we got MS-13, we got Tren de Aragua, we got all these horrible people in this country, we're going to get all these bad boy people out. And when he would talk about mass deportations, people think, oh yeah, you're going to round up all the literal violent criminal, murderer, rapist, robbers, gangsters, cartel members, and ship them out. But this is the point I'm trying to make to people, bro. It is an objective fact that there aren't that many of these people in the country. They're not there. Which is why when Trump says ICE has to do 1,200 deportations a day, not even 1% of them are going to be fucking violent criminals because the violent criminals are already gonzo because they were deported under Democratic administrations and Republican administrations. The thing that's scary about people supporting that, right, is that Trump, we're going to find out in a few days here if he does this on April 20th. Trump wants to use the Insurrection Act, declare martial law, to declare basically a war at the southern border to allow him to use the military to round people up and ship them out, right? And it looks like, according to this, people go, yeah, militarize the border, send the military down there to deport people. But what Americans might not realize about this is it doesn't just stop there. If he invokes the Insurrection Act, if he declares martial law, you think that, oh, really, there's just only going to be militarized troops along the border. No, he's going to say any anti-Trump protest, any anti-Elon protest in any city in America, this is in violation of the law. This is an illegal protest. Now we're going to send the military in to break you up too. And finally, the only thing that's super popular among immigration policies, deport undocumented immigrants who have been accused of committing violent crime. That one, virtually everybody agrees on. But as I just pointed out, that happens under Democratic administration. That happens under Republican administrations. That is the least novel idea ever, right? Hey, here's a violent criminal who's in the country in an undocumented way. Everybody's like, okay, you can deport them. That's fine, right? The idea that this like, oh, bro, it's iconoclastic, it's revolutionary to do this thing that every fucking president has done forever. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So anyway, look, he is collapsing. I got to give you this too. Ready? Are you concerned Trump will defy a court order? Concerned, 55%. Not concerned, only 27%. So this poll number is amazing because it shows people like, yeah, he's not accountable to anybody. He's fucking crazy. But at the same time, it's like, he already did it. So the number should be 100-0, right? Everybody should be like, yeah, I'm concerned he's going to violate a court order because he already violated a court order. And then finally, I think I have one more for you. Are you concerned, ready? This is wild. Are you concerned Trump will jail American citizens based on their political views? 50-40. They say, yes, we're concerned about that. 50-40. Half of the American public says, this guy's such a fascist, he might jail people for disagreeing with him. It's here, bro. The fascism is here. We are witnessing it. It's right in front of our eyes, and it is immensely disturbing. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.